Hey there and welcome back to Mass Effect 2. My name is Pete and today we complete Miranda's loyalty mission here on Illium after we have wrapped up a bunch of smaller assignments in the previous episode. In that last episode we also completed a small mission involving our #1 fan Conrad Werner, and because he has left the bar now, another small assignment has become available. All parties involved are conveniently placed right here inside of the bar, and the assignment is started as we overhear a conversation between a Quarian and a slave broker here.
We'll figure something out. Stop worrying.
Stop worrying. This is my life you're talking about.
You signed the indentured service contract. You gave over your responsibility to me. So, don't worry. It's okay. I'll think of something.
You said Synthetic Insights would buy me. You said it was an easy sale.
I assumed they would want an AI tech. Hello. Can I help you with something?
Alright, the conversation immediately presents us with our first morality choice here, although it's not much of a choice to be honest. The only points we can get here are 2 Paragon points, so let's select the corresponding option at the top.
I need you to let that slave go. Now.
We prefer the term indentured servant, and I know that Batarian slavers have made humans understandably prejudiced against slavery. Before you do anything hasty, know that this Quarian signed the agreement voluntarily, and her servitude contract is completely legal on Illium. If you actually want to help the Quarian, convince the Synthetic Insights representative to purchase her contract.
At this point we can learn a bit more about slavery, or indentured service as it is called here on Illium, so let's do that to get a better picture of the legal framework that we're looking at.
So slavery is legal on Illium?
Indentured servitude lasts a set amount of time or until agreed upon conditions are met. Illium must approve all contracts. The law limits what restraint or corrective options I can use and what tasks I can legally assign her. I'm also legally responsible for her behavior and health. Abuse is absolutely forbidden.
Okay, admittedly that does not sound as bad as slavery. Still, several other questions remain, including how the Quarian got herself into trouble in the first place.
Why did this Quarian sign herself into slavery?
I tried to play the stock market. I'm good with numbers, and I thought I had a way to make unlimited money. I lost everything. Then I got a credit line and lost that. Then I took out an illegal loan. You get the picture.
As part of our agreement, I paid off her debts. 5 years from now, she'll have a fresh start and excellent work references.
Sounds great. Unless you lose her paperwork or come up with a reason to hold her longer.
All contracts are monitored by Illium law enforcement. In a case such as you described, the burden of proof would be on me. No system is perfect, but safeguards are set up to protect all parties.
Okay, so we have established that indentured service is legal, and we have also learned that the Quarian is apparently pretty skilled. And this of course now begs the question why it's so hard to find a buyer for her.
If slavery is legal, then why are you trying to sell the Quarian?
I don't keep service contracts myself. I'm a contract broker. I assumed Synthetic Insights would jump at the chance for a skilled AI tech, but they won't even make me an offer.
Why not just keep her? You said she had technical skills.
Quarian's strict health requirements and diets make them expensive to house and feed. I run at a minor profit at best. I don't have the money for constant suit repairs and clean room facilities.
So what happens if Synthetic Insights won't take me?
A solution always presents itself. I will take care of you.
Now, just to be thorough here, let's explore all options that we have, including taking matters into our own hands.
What if I bought her myself? I could let her go and everyone would be happy.
A gallant offer with 3 problems. First, her technical skill merits a contract of several 100,000 credits.
There's also a fee for freeing me before my service period ends.
Exactly. And finally, you are clearly a traveler. Her service contract requires that she remain on Illium.
I don't want them to take me off to a mine somewhere.
Alright, it looks like Synthetic Insights is probably the best option here, so we'll agree to talk to the representative, even though this does not give us any additional morality points.
I'll talk to the Synthetic Insights rep and see what I can do.
Really? Thank you. I'd appreciate that.
And on our way over, we can also quickly listen in to another conversation.
You deserve somebody who respects you. Somebody who's going to treat you right.
Oh, I think I'm just going to stop dating for a while.
No, don't do that. Don't let some human spoil you.
It's always the same thing.
Ooh, she could get sick. She's vulnerable. I wonder what she looks like under the helmet.
You'll find someone out there who cares about you for who you are. Someone whose food you can eat, even.
Right, so here we are, just a few steps further we can find the representative. Let's talk to her and see if we can't figure out a solution.
Can I help you with something?
Now, it doesn't really matter which dialogue option we pick here, the result will largely be the same. The only thing we don't want to do, of course, is to straight up walk away again.
How would you like to get your hands on an expert Quarian AI programmer?
If you'd like to submit a resume, Wait. Is this that slave? Synthetic Insights has no interest in purchasing slave labor. We're under enough scrutiny from the Citadel without engaging in practices the Council disapproves of. To be frank, we're hardly hiring anyone. The Geth attack on the Citadel didn't engender much love for artificial intelligence.
Right, now comes the interesting part. As you can see, we are now presented with a Charm and an Intimidate option. Either one would give us 5 Paragon or Renegade points, but we're not going to pick one of them. Instead, we will simply agree with her reservations and then walk away. You will see the reason behind this shortly. For now, let's just see how it plays out.
I'll tell the slave broker. Hopefully she'll understand.
Thank you. I'd appreciate that.
And back to the slave broker we go. Let's inform her of what we learned.
You again. Did you talk to Synthetic Insights about purchasing my slave's contract?
And yes, they presented us with a variety of good reasons, none of which were entirely outlandish.
They've got a policy against taking slaves. They're also having financial problems.
I knew this was a stupid risk. The economy is too unstable to be taking on risky projects.
I'm sorry.
Please, this is not your fault. It is my responsibility to care for you. I will think of something.
Right, and look here, we once again have a Charm and an Intimidate option available to us. The outcome, however, seems to favor the Quarian a lot more, while regarding morality points, the reward would be exactly the same. So let's go with the Charm option here for 5 Paragon points. This option would of course not have been available had we convinced the representative earlier.
Come on. You said that Illium has a whole system for contracts. Where there's a system, there's wiggle room.
Well, I don't want to keep her because I don't think I can maintain her health.
Isn't there some kind of clause that lets you release someone for health reasons?
Wait. Yes, there is. I can claim medical necessity. She will be free, and 80% of my contract price will be refunded. It was never meant to apply to Quarians, and they'll close that loophole after we use it, but it will work for us. Thank you. Here, for your trouble. Now, if you will excuse me, I have to go free my slave.
Thank you. I'll stay out of trouble this time.
Okay, 5 Paragon points earned, and technically the assignment is now completed. But as you can see, the representative is still here, so we're not quite done yet.
If you're hurting for things to do, maybe after work we could catch a vid or something.
Oh, that's sweet. But I'm okay. A little dry spell isn't gonna kill me.
We could watch Fleet and Flotilla. It got awards for its portrayal of the Turian and Quarian relationships.
Anyway, if worst comes to worst, I did have the nerve stimulation program built into my suit.
And I hear that the love scenes are... What?
Oh yeah. Standard equipment for any responsible adult. Oh here, let me fire it up. Excuse me, human. Private conversation? Ugh.
A little space, please.
Now, I will admit I'm not quite sure if this is a bug or by design, but even with the quest completed, it is actually possible to talk to the representative again.
Hello again. Was there something other than the Quarian problem I can help you with?
And as you can see here, we also still have the exact same dialogue options as before, so on top of the 5 Paragon points we obtained earlier, we can now grab ourselves an additional 5. Once again though, I'm not 100% sure if this was intended to be possible. In the grand scheme of things, it doesn't change much apart from the morality points, but this is the way to get the absolute maximum out of the assignment. I'm showing it to you because this is a completionist playthrough, and once again the effects are minimal, but if you prefer to pick one option and then stick with it, that is of course perfectly fine as well. Missing out on 5 additional Paragon points is not the end of the world, so feel free to make whatever decision you prefer.
It sounds like Synthetic Insights is worried about its reputation. Hiring this Quarian would help.
Buying a slave helps our reputation. How exactly do you figure?
Purchase the contract, minus the fee for early emancipation, then free the Quarian and garnish wages for reimbursement.
Interesting. We look good for hiring a Quarian, and we can say that we freed slaves out of the goodness of our hearts. All right, I'll run up a contract. The board might wet its pants, but we could use the good publicity. This Quarian had better be good, though.
Right, our journal has now been updated, but of course the quest is no longer active, which further supports the assumption that this is very likely a bug, but I thought I'd show it to you anyway just for the sake of completion. With this small assignment now completed, we can set our sights on bigger things, and of course I'm talking about Miranda's loyalty mission. As you might remember, Miranda is looking to protect her sister from her father here on Illium, and this right here is our contact who will hopefully help us find her.
Ms. Lawson, I'm glad you've made it. We've had a complication.
What happened? Is Oriana alright?
She's fine, but you listed a man named Niket as your trusted source. He contacted me, warning that your father has sent Eclipse mercenaries to make a sweep. He suggested that the mercs might be watching for you personally. He's offered to escort Oriana's family to the terminal instead.
Right, so Niket is a name that we haven't heard yet, and considering how we are about to jump headfirst into this mission, it might be time for Miranda to put all the cards on the table.
You didn't mention anything about Niket.
He's a friend. He and I go back a long way.
Do you want to bring in any of your other Illium contacts, Ms. Lawson?
No, you and Niket are the only two I trust on this.
Okay, now the mercenaries are obviously going to be the guys that we're working against in this mission, so let's learn a bit more about them as well.
What information do you have about the mercenaries?
I've confirmed that they're Eclipse, and that they're working for an organization Ms. Lawson warned us about. I could try to alert the authorities, but so far they've done nothing illegal.
You made the right decision. We'll handle this ourselves.
And here we go, time to obtain ourselves 2 Paragon points. At least for now, we'll let Miranda be the person in charge.
It's your sister, Miranda. What do you want to do?
Lantea, we'll follow Niket's suggestion. Shepard and I will take the car and draw their attention. Have Niket escort the family to the shuttle. Give him full access to the family's itinerary, just to be safe.
Understood, Ms. Lawson.
So the plan is for us to get shot down by Eclipse while your sister gets to safety?
Eclipse will be under orders to take my sister alive. They won't risk anything that could kill us.
Question is, of course, if the same logic also applies to Niket, or if it's not better to send some help his way too.
I doubt Eclipse will send all their people just to stop you. Do you want to give Niket any backup?
Niket can take care of himself. Besides, any armed backup just draws attention to him.
Alright, looks like that's all the preparation we can do at this point. So let's stop asking questions and start Miranda's loyalty mission.
I'm ready whenever you are, Miranda.
Thank you, Shepard. I appreciate this. I hadn't planned on Eclipse, but they never planned on you.
Now, obviously Miranda will be with us for this one, and since we haven't seen Jack in combat yet, we'll also take her. Alternatively, someone a bit more sturdy like Zaid or Grunt is also a good choice. Jack, on the other hand, is good for crowd control, and we're going to need plenty of that. As a result of the previous episode, we also leveled up, and that means with Shepard we now have 2 points to spend. Our 2 options here are incendiary ammo or concussive shot, and we'll go with the ammo power just to unlock it and to also work our way towards cryo ammo. Meanwhile, with Jack we have 3 points to spend, and those will all be used to level up Shockwave. You will see this power in action a lot in this mission, especially against larger groups of weaker enemies. It is very useful. That brings us to Miranda now, who we can't do anything with, so with her we'll simply have to wait for the next level up. Weapon selection then is no rocket science either. You could exchange the M920 cane for something slightly better suited for close-range combat. The rocket launcher or the flamethrower comes to mind, for example, but we'll likely not be using any heavy weapons at all in this mission, so we'll simply leave the loadout as it is.
Damn it! Eclipse mercenary gunships. They'll be dropping troops in the cargo areas.
Put us down in that cover behind them.
Let's hope they really do want to take us alive.
Hold fire! I said hold fire, damn it! I got this.
Since you're not firing yet, I trust you know who I am.
Yeah, they said you'd be in the car. You're the bitch that kidnapped our boss's little girl.
Kidnapped? This doesn't involve you. I suggest you take your men and go.
Think you've got it all lined up, huh? Captain Enyala's already moving in on the kid. She knows about Niket. He won't be helping you.
Alright, let's get the most concerning thing out of the way here first. If Niket actually betrayed us, this mission could become a lot harder, so let's find out what the mercenary actually meant with that.
What do you mean Niket won't be helping us?
Nothing you need to worry about. Nobody's gonna get killed unless you do something stupid. You walk away now, the girl goes back to her father, and everybody's happy.
Everybody but my sister. And me.
Now, the mercenary also called Oriana the Kid, suggesting that she is in fact a lot younger than Miranda, who previously claimed to be her twin sister.
Wait, Miranda, you said she was your twin sister.
That what she told you? No, this crazy bitch kidnapped our boss's baby daughter. He's been looking for her for more than a decade.
It's complicated, Shepard. We share the same DNA, just not the same birthday.
You took a baby from the richest guy in the galaxy, lady. I don't know what your damage is, but you're not getting away with it.
Now, a certain Captain Enyala was also mentioned, and she appears to be the one calling the shots for the mercenaries, so maybe we should take this up with her.
Should we be talking to Captain Enyala about this?
You don't want to talk to the captain. She's not as polite as I am. She's the best commando I've ever seen. I've seen her tear people in half with her biotics. And she's getting paid a lot to stop you.
She gets in my way, she'll never have a chance to spend it.
Right, now we have a Paragon dialogue option and then a Renegade interrupt coming up. In total, that will give us 2 Paragon and 5 Renegade points, and for the moment it will completely ignore the fact that we are the ones being accused of kidnapping Oriana, and not the mercenaries or Oriana's father.
You're not getting Miranda's sister. If you push this, it'll go badly for you.
Captain Enyala ordered us to give you one chance to walk away. This whole time we've been talking, my men have been lining up shots. When I say the word, we unleash hell on your squad. So I suggest you walk away nicely, unless you want things to get up.
Shields are down! Eclipse ready!
Alright, time for combat, although this one is not that big of a deal. We can start things off with a nice warp detonation on the engineer, before we then move up to engage the rest of the Eclipse. The squad here only consists of engineers, troopers and a single heavy. The mercenary leader already had his neck snapped earlier. By the way, the Renegade interrupt a few moments ago did not cost us any other morality points. Had we not used it, the firefight would have broken out regardless. We only would have had a few more enemies against us. The warp detonation that we started off with, by the way, that actually got us up to the halfway mark for the Tactician achievement, for which we need to use warp to detonate biotic powers 20 times. We are now up to 10, and Miranda and Jack are a very good combo to work on this achievement. At the same time, though, Jack also has the very potent shockwave ability, which is more or less the exact opposite to pull.
Come on, we need to get to Niket.
While pull targets a single enemy and gently lifts them up in the air, the shockwave travels in a straight line and hits everyone in its path, and then forcefully catapults them up in the air for a violent landing. Now, this does not work on enemies who are still protected by shields, which most of the guys here are, but those enemies still get stunned for a brief moment, making shockwave an excellent crowd control attack.
Hang on, I've got one of their radios. I'll patch us in, see if I can get an idea of what we're up against. Shepard, I think I owe you an explanation. Oriana is my twin, genetically. But my father grew her when I was a teenager. She was meant to replace me. I couldn't let my father do to her what he did to me. So I rescued her. She's almost a woman now.
Now, there are 2 obvious questions to ask here. The first is why Miranda never gave us Oriana's age. The other, why she lured us into this mission with the threat of her father kidnapping Oriana, when it was in fact Miranda herself who took her sister away.
Why didn't you tell me that we were saving a kid?
She's not a child. She'll be 19 this year. But, well, it didn't seem relevant at the time, I suppose. There are people who'd use her against me. I'm very protective when it comes to Oriana. I'm sorry I didn't trust you sooner. You deserved to know.
I can understand choosing to go your own way, but you stole a young child from her father.
If you knew my father, you would understand. I wasn't the first one he made, I was only the first one he kept. I was brought up with no friends, pushed to meet impossible demands. I wasn't a daughter to him. I don't know what I was. Oriana has had a normal life. I made the right decision.
Okay, time for the next morality choice, and once again we only have Paragon points available, so this time we're not letting Miranda call the shots. Instead, I think it's time that we slowly take control of this mission.
If Eclipse knows where Oriana is, they'll be moving in on her soon. We need to hurry.
Agreed. I'm a bit worried by what the merc said. If they've got to Niket somehow, this is going to be harder than I'd planned. According to the specs I reviewed, we'll need to cut through the cargo processing yard to get to Oriana.
And once again, we have two questions that could help us out tremendously with what comes next. The first is about the area that we'll have to go through. The other one is whether or not we can really rely on Niket, because despite Miranda's trust in him, there are certain signs pointing towards him having switched sides.
Can you tell me anything about the cargo processing yard?
We'll be moving through conveyor systems. There'll be a lot of movement. Finding targets won't be easy. We'll need to stay sharp. And these cargo transports carry hazardous materials. So watch what you shoot at.
I hope your friend can be trusted.
Absolutely. Niket is one of my oldest friends. I guess you could say he was my only real friend. He's the only person I didn't cut ties with when I left my father.
Is there a chance your father could be using Niket to get to you?
I'm sure he's tried, but Niket's one of the few people who understands what my father is really like. I trusted him with my life when I ran from my father, Shepard. He won't betray me now.
And that is all we can get out of Miranda at this point. Time to continue our pursuit.
Let's go find Niket and Oriana.
Right.
First things first, as we enter the next area, we'll switch over to the sniper rifle. This will generally make the next fight a tiny bit easier.
They're on the far side of the conveyor line. Time your shot.
Before we proceed, we also want to make a stop in the container on the right here. That's where we can find an easily missable PDA worth 1,500 credits.
Understood!
Once the hacking job is finished, combat then begins, but for the moment we have a good amount of distance between us and the enemies. That makes the sniper rifle very useful, however our two squad members are not overly effective at this range, so we'll have to rely on their powers more than on their actual shooting abilities. Now, there are several ways to go about this fight, however this spot over here on the left side has a few key advantages. First of all, you can get here without being hurt too much because there is a good amount of cover available. The enemies meanwhile appear in a nice small corridor. Now, in theory, you can also approach from the far right side, however getting there in the first place is already pretty risky, and generally enemies are a bit more widespread on that side. Over here they are normally clustered fairly closely together, which is especially convenient if you're using Jack's shockwave a lot. Overall, I would recommend staying put for the most part and picking off the enemies one by one here. Especially the combat drones can be very annoying, so staying in cover is well worth it. Moving around in the open too much will very likely only get you killed. The big downside of staying in one spot for so long against a rather sizable group of enemies is of course the risk of running out of bullets, because obviously you are unable to collect new ammunition. However, the group here is still small enough that this should not become a major issue, but you can expect to switch weapons a few times in this fight if not all of your shots connect.
This is Enyala. Keep the bitch back. Niket is nearing the transport terminal.
Right, so now Captain Enyala herself is mentioning Niket, which honestly does not sound like a good thing, but for the moment there is also not much that we can do about it. Our path now leads us through a few more containers, where we can grab a medkit, some ammunition, as well as an SMG upgrade.
This might be useful.
Continuing on, we're now about to run into the next group of enemies, however this one is spearheaded by 4 Loki mechs. They have a layer of armor, so we could have switched over to incendiary ammo, however they are also incredibly flimsy opponents, so we will be able to take them out quickly regardless of ammo type. There are more opponents over on the right side though, so we don't want to move up too quickly, and there is also some loot over to the left that can easily be missed. Once all enemies are down, we can quickly head back there, and then get our hands on 1500 credits inside of a locker. Now for the rest of the enemies in this area, a very good shooting spot is the back of the truck here. Not only do we have excellent cover to the front and the left, but we also have a slightly elevated position, which makes our enemies' cover slightly less useful. Once again, we are facing a sizable group of enemies here, mostly made up of standard troopers and the occasional heavy or engineer, so at least in this fight the Eclipse are definitely going with quantity over quality. Still, as always, we should not take this fight too lightly. Even though they are not well protected, even the standard troopers can hit very hard, so just like in the fight before, staying in cover and remaining patient is a very good approach for this fight. And while it is technically possible that enemies come up from the left to try and flank you, I have actually never experienced that once. Most of the Eclipse troopers will simply stick to their cover, which is honestly not going to help them much. Once there are no more enemies coming in, we can then move up ourselves. Otherwise, if we simply stay on the truck to wait, this fight will drag out unnecessarily long. However, as you can see, our enemies also don't have much left to throw at us. Only a single heavy and a trooper are waiting for us, while one last engineer is hiding a few meters over to the right. Now, with someone like Grunt in the squad instead of Jack, you could probably afford to be a bit more aggressive in your approach in these fights, especially since most of the opponents are low-level enemies that Grunt should have no problem dealing with, but of course we want to give everyone a chance to shine in this mission. The last enemy then is an isolated Solarian engineer. With him we can get ourselves warp detonation number 11, and shortly after the fight is over. Before we move on, there is once again some easily missable loot to be found inside of the container right next to us. Not only can we stock up on ammunition, but we can also hack a secure terminal for 3000 credits. Once we exit the container again, we are immediately ambushed by 2 more Eclipse mercenaries, but that should not distract us from grabbing the second research upgrade of this mission, which increases our Medigel capacity. The 2 enemies then are only standard troopers who do not pose too much of a threat, and once their shields have been removed, a nice shockwave from Jack sends them flying and allows us to take them out.
Divert everyone except my guard from Niket. I'll handle him and the kid personally.
Damn it, I'm not letting her get Oriana.
Heading into the next area, we are promptly greeted by more enemies. However, this small welcoming committee only consists of 2 troopers and a mech, nothing that we can't handle. Interestingly enough though, we just heard Captain Enyala mention someone guarding Niket, which might mean that he has not switched sides after all and could only be Enyala's captive for the moment. In any case, we have no other option but to press on to find out what's really going on, and as you can see, another group of enemies stands in our way. And taking them out is made a bit more difficult by plenty of cover on both sides, as well as by a conveyor belt moving crates through the middle of the fight. Just ahead of us we can also once again see a truck that offers solid cover and some high ground too, but for the moment we'll stay back a bit to thin out the enemy numbers. A quick tip at this point that you won't see in the video: the crates that are being moved on the conveyor belt can actually be shot down, just like in the Renegade Interrupt earlier. It's a bit tricky to time that correctly and have them fall on the enemies though, so I generally prefer to focus on hitting those enemies directly. However, with a bit of practice you can turn the crates into a nice bombardment, and I just wanted to point that out. Regarding the makeup of the enemy squad on the opposite side, you have probably already noticed a very high number of Eclipse engineers. And this has several implications for the strategy of this fight. First of all, engineers are not too heavily protected, so they will generally try to stay in cover instead of aggressively moving up to flank. However, they also have the ability to summon combat drones, and those are more or less made to engage directly in close-range combat. 1 or 2 of them are not a big problem, as they have weak attacks and virtually no protection, but a large number of engineers is of course also able to summon a large number of drones. Those drones have one major problem though: their pathfinding is not the best and they easily get stuck on cover such as crates or barricades. And that is why I prefer to stay on the opposite side of the conveyor belt until all enemies are taken out, because that way a lot of the drones will not even make it over to you. A more aggressive approach is certainly possible, but arguably also a lot more dangerous. As you can see, I have also not used the truck for cover in this fight, which would have given us a slight advantage I think, but in the end the result remains the same. All enemies are taken out and we can proceed with looting the area.
We can cut down through the cargo line.
We have 3 objects of interest on the other side of the conveyor belt, the first one in the container on the right that was opposite to us in the firefight. Here we can find a PDA on a dead mercenary, and hacking that one gives us 3000 credits. The next bit of loot is in the container right next to this one. After entering and turning right, we can get our hands on 500 units of Element 0, the only mineral container in this mission. Finally then, a service terminal is worth an additional 3000 credits.
Eclipse operatives have attempted to delay you by disabling the elevators. I overrided their lockdown.
Just like Edie mentioned, the elevator ahead of us is currently on lockdown, and we also have enemies trying to keep us from using it. This is a fairly short but intense firefight over relatively close range, in which we encounter everything from troopers to engineers to heavies and even an Eclipse vanguard. The Vanguard should also be a priority target once she enters the fight, because her approach is a lot more aggressive and she will try to engage in close-range combat with biotic powers and a shotgun. The explosive containers in the area can be used to your advantage, but at the same time the enemy's explosive can be a lot of trouble as well. There are numerous heavies with rocket launchers hiding near the elevator, and dodging the rockets is not the easiest task in the world when you also have to worry about a Vanguard and several engineers and their combat drones. Regarding the hunt for achievements, by the way, we just came one step closer to the Warp Specialist achievement after removing the last bit of biotic barrier from the Vanguard with Miranda. For the last enemy here, we're focusing on the Brawler achievement. Without shields and already heavily injured, the punch and shoot combo leads to the engineer's quick demise.
Niket has reached the terminal. He'll switch the family over to our transport.
Niket. But that can't be right.
Before we head into the elevator to find out more though, let's not forget to grab the medical station on the wall, and we can also stock up on ammunition with the power cell container on the side.
Maybe the captain knows we're listening in and she's feeding misinformation about Niket making a switch. Or maybe it means something else. Niket wouldn't do that. Damn it, why won't this thing go any faster?
Right, so the whole Niket thing is of course concerning, although at this point I feel like Miranda might be reaching for explanations when the most obvious answer is right in front of us.
What makes you so sure that Niket wouldn't turn on you?
He could have turned on me when I ran away. I'm sure my father tried to buy him off. If he didn't do it then, why would he do it now?
Did Niket know that you took Oriana from your father?
No, he just found out about that recently. It was too personal to involve someone else. I never really thought about it, but maybe... No, he'd have to understand why I did it. He knows what I went through.
Once again, we can obtain 2 Paragon points here by agreeing with Miranda, although I'm not sure whether or not Shepard would actually believe her at this point.
You know him, Miranda. If you don't think he'd betray you, then I'm sure there's another explanation.
I don't know, damn it. But I guess we'll find out soon enough. And then I'll have a word with this Captain Enyala.
Listen to me. I've got authorization to change their booking.
I'm sorry, sir. We're under security lockdown. Until the situation in the cargo terminal is resolved, no passengers can be rebooked.
This isn't worth my time, Niket. I get paid regardless of how the girl gets there.
No. I was told that I could handle this my way. We're not traumatizing the family any more than we... Miri.
This should be fun.
Niket, you sold me out.
And the next 2 Paragon points come right here as we discover that Niket has in fact betrayed us. Still, we will leave the decision up to Miranda. After all, this is very much personal and killing him immediately won't give us any answers.
How do you want to handle this, Miranda?
Why, Niket? You were my friend. You helped me get away from my father.
Yes, because you wanted to leave. That was your choice. But if I'd known that you'd stolen a baby...
I didn't steal her. I rescued her.
From a life of wealth and happiness, you weren't saving her. You were getting back at your father.
Time for a few questions at gunpoint, and we'll start with Niket's betrayal first. I think that is the most obvious one.
How did Miranda's father turn you?
They told me you'd kidnapped your baby sister all those years ago. They said I could help get her back peacefully. No trauma to the family. I told them you'd never do that. They could go to hell. Then you finally told me what you'd done. I called them back that night.
Why didn't you call me, Niket? We've been through a lot. You could have at least let me explain.
I deserve to know that you'd stolen your sister, Miri. I deserve to know you were with Cerberus. But I had to hear it from your father first.
How much did Miranda's father pay you?
A great deal.
Damn it, Niket! You were the only one I trusted from that life.
He knew you felt that way. That's why he bought me.
So you just took his money.
Don't get holy with me, Miri. You took his money for years.
One point worth noting here is that Oriana has found a new family, and while Miranda's actions have certainly been questionable, it might do more harm than good to tear Oriana away from her home and bring her back to her father.
Whether or not you agree with Miranda, Oriana has been with her family for years now.
Her father can still give her a better life.
You don't know what my father wants for her.
I know that I've been poor, Miri. I didn't much care for it.
He wants to take a girl away from the only family she's ever known. Doesn't that tell you what he really is?
Lastly then, let's do some mercenary shaming. The Eclipse have been a thorn in our side for a good portion of this playthrough, and getting involved here has certainly not increased the likability.
I knew Eclipse was willing to get their hands dirty, but kidnapping a kid?
I'm not stealing her. I'm rescuing her. Come on, Niket. Let's finish this bitch off and get out of here.
Take your best shot.
I was just waiting for you to finish getting dressed. Or does Cerberus really let you whore around in that outfit?
I like her. Are we still recruiting?
A double dose of Paragon points is now coming up. First we can attempt to solve things peacefully, before we then use a Paragon interruption. All in all, that will give us 7 Paragon points. The end result of this conversation, however, will remain largely unaffected.
If you're working for Miranda's father, that means he knows about Oriana. We need to find a new solution.
Miranda's father has no information about Oriana. I knew you had spy programs in your father's system, Miri, so I kept it private. I'm the only one who knows.
Which means that you're the only loose end. This isn't how I wanted it to end, Niket.
Miranda, wait! You don't want to do this.
This has to end here, Shepard. My father will keep trying to find Oriana.
Maybe Niket can help. Talk to your father. Just say you got here first.
I'll tell him that you hid her. That I don't know where she is.
I never want to see you again, Niket.
Done. Now, if you don't mind, I have a shipment to deliver.
You'll die for that, bitch!
Here we go! Fire at will!
Right, so this is the big fight, and it can be very tricky to survive here. Our first priority is taking out the vanguard on our right side, so that we can hunker down over there and reduce the risk of getting flanked. As you may have noticed, the area here is split into 3 pathways. That makes it a bit tough to find a good firing position, and on the other hand very easy to become surrounded. However, thankfully only one of the enemies here is actively trying to flank us, and that is Captain Enyala herself. The remaining Eclipse troopers and engineers will mostly hide behind cover, although if given enough time they will slowly advance as well. The key challenge therefore remains to keep the bulk of the enemies under control and away from our position, all while avoiding getting shot in the back by Enyala and her shotgun. Because she is by far the most dangerous enemy in this area, I prefer to take out Enyala as quickly as possible, although you can also be successful by eliminating the mercenaries first and saving Enyala for last. Our 2 squad members have been moved out of the main line of fire for the moment, and with good reason. There is not a ton of cover available on our side, and both Miranda and Jag are not too heavily protected, so while we focus all of our attention on Enyala, the rest of the enemies are able to overwhelm our 2 squad mates unless we keep them out of the way for a bit. Things are then only complicated further by Enyala's retreat behind a sizable group of mercenaries, where she will now attempt to catch a breath and recover her biotic barrier. With all the hard work we have put into attacking her, that is of course something that we don't want to happen, so whenever we catch a glimpse of her, we'll try to land a few more shots. Needless to say, the sniper rifle is a very useful weapon for this, especially since it also allows us to one-shot some of the troopers in the meantime. A perfectly timed shockwave then sends Enyala flying and into the depths below, where she is instantly killed. Once she has fallen, the fight here isn't significantly harder than any of the fights before. Yes, the Eclipse operatives take a while to eliminate, but the majority of enemies that remain are standard troopers, and those have not given us any trouble yet. And so we are now about to wrap up this fight without Jack or Miranda getting involved much, apart of course from regular use of their powers. Especially Jack's shockwave ability had a lot of moments to shine in this mission, and it will be very useful going forward as well. At this point we have now cleared the area and can proceed to the elevator, but not without taking a small looting detour. On the right side here we can find a medkit, and then we have 2 more objects of interest near the elevator itself.
There could be more Eclipse mercs near the shuttle. I want to make sure Oriana and her family get on safely.
The first is a secure terminal holding 3,000 credits, the other one is a locket with a picture of an Asari and a human man. We might find someone missing this as we continue to explore Nos Astra, but for now, let's take the elevator and get out of here.
I can't believe Niket sold me out. I didn't even see it coming.
One more elevator conversation, and it's understandable that Miranda doubts herself after what happened, so let's cheer her up a bit and grab 2 more Paragon points in the process.
Even with all your upgrades, you're human, just like the rest of us.
But I let it get personal and I screwed up. Why didn't you let me kill him? I could have handled that. But watching him get gunned down by that Asari bitch...
From what we saw, Miranda and Niket had a lot of history, and killing him in the heat of the moment likely would have come back to haunt her, so in the end I think it's better she did not pull the trigger.
You still cared for him, even if he betrayed you.
You're right. And my father knew it. He used that against me. It's always been like this. My father gave me anything I ever wanted, but there was always a hook, an angle for his long-term plan. I threw away everything he ever gave me when I ran. Except Niket. Weakness on my part?
And yes, that does not sound like a healthy mindset going forward, but it explains a lot of Miranda's reputation as a cold-blooded and determined Cerberus agent.
You can't toss aside everything you care about just to be safe.
It's okay, Shepard. My father hurt me, but he didn't break me. As much as he tried to turn me into exactly what he wanted, I'm my own person.
Despite our concerns about how Miranda deals with her past, it might also be good to know if there are any other people that could suddenly step onto the scene and cause trouble. After all, we have a mission to complete ourselves and cannot afford too many distractions.
Any other old friends your father might use against you?
No, I cut ties with everyone else. Anyone I'm close to now works for Cerberus. Or you. My father's powerful, but he won't cross the elusive man.
Now, there is of course one person from Miranda's past that still lives happily, even though Oriana herself probably doesn't know about her twin sister yet.
You still have Oriana?
My father didn't give her to me. I rescued her, but yes, you're right. I still have something. Thank you. No sign of Eclipse. It looks like we're clear. There she is. She's safe. With her family. Come on, we should go.
And here we now have the biggest morality decision of this mission, and as always we will pick the Paragon option for 15 Paragon points. In the end, going through all this trouble just to watch from a distance feels very unrewarding, and who knows, maybe we need to force Miranda to show her emotional side from time to time.
Don't you even want to say hello?
It's not about what I want, it's about what's right for her. The less she knows about me, the better. She's got a family. A life. I'll just complicate that for her.
She doesn't need any details. But would it really be so bad for her to know she has a sister who loves her?
I guess not.
Go on. We'll wait here.
And here we are with Miranda's loyalty mission completed. The mercenaries have been defeated, Oriana is safe and moving to a new home, and most importantly, Miranda is now loyal to us. As a result, we unlock the Prodigal achievement. Additionally, we also receive 750 experience points for our efforts. Not quite enough to level up, but that also wasn't the point of the mission. Instead, we receive a brand new biotic power for Miranda, the Slam ability, and also unlock a new outfit for her. We grab both available upgrades in this mission, first the submachine gun damage upgrade and then also the Medigel capacity upgrade, and we also collected all the credits for a total of 30,000, with 500 units of Element Zero as the cherry on top. And so we're back in the Eternity Bar now, one step closer to completion. In the next episode we will probably have another chat with Liara, we will also try to find the owner of that locket we grabbed earlier, and we might even begin recruiting our next squad member. Until then, I hope you enjoyed the episode, and if you did, I would be happy if you could leave a thumbs up. If you want to support the channel further, then you can also subscribe to stay up to date, or you can support the Pete Complete Patreon. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.